Friedman went on to talk about the Penguins bringing somebody in, or maybe several somebodies from the Buffalo Sabres organization. Quote, Pittsburgh has asked about some of Buffalo's young players like JJ Peterka. That's a big price if it ever happens, but that guy has got Pittsburgh written all over him. Horwat, we have previously talked about Bowen Byram, who's at the top of a lot of trade boards. We've talked about Dylan Cousins, who's at the top of a lot of trade boards, but we never talked about JJ Peterka, mainly because I don't think any of us thought that he could potentially be even on the trade block from the Buffalo Sabres. Of those three, I like Peterka a lot, and I think he shoots to the top of the list. Do you agree?
I think so, yeah. And Peterka's a new addition, I think, from last week when it comes to Buffalo Sabres reaching the trade block. It's definitely a new face that I do enjoy the most, I think, out of those available players. There's a ton of names that Buffalo's looking to sell off. But JJ Peterka just might have the most upside. I mean, he's still on a rookie deal at the moment. He is an RFA at the end of the season. But at 23 as a center, maybe that is the new second line center. Again, if the Penguins pull us off, it's a high price apparently, but if the Penguins decide to go this direction next season, figure out what to do with Malkin, moving to the side, bumping down to the third. You have a young face that can maybe take over those reins. Again, maybe it's not an immediate adjustment into that position, but, pushing his way into that spot. He's having a heck of a season right now with 47 points in 57 games. That's quite a bit for Buffalo. I think if they're willing to pay that price, that's a heck of a spot for Peterka to be in for next season.
Yeah, to me, Peterka immediately goes to the top of this list. I do like Bowen Byram. I do like Dylan Cousins a heck of a lot. And I think if you're looking for a two-way center, you're probably better off going after Dylan Cousins than you are JJ Peterka. But I think the upside is there a lot higher with JJ Peterka. He's 23 years old. Like you mentioned, the guy can play almost any forward position. He had 28 goals and 50 points last season as a 22-year-old. And he's on pace for another 20-goal season and on pace to break that career high in points. I just smashed that career high in points. I believe you mentioned he had like 48 points, 47 points already. His career high is 50. So he is trending in the right direction despite playing on one of the worst teams in the NHL's Eastern Conference and in the NHL in general. And I mentioned it already. I like a lot of these guys in the AHL. I really like Rutger McGroarty. I really like Ville Koivunen. I really like Vasily Ponomarev. I really like Tristan Brose. Peterka has higher upside than pretty much all of them. McGroarty, you can have a conversation, but certainly the other three. Peterka is already doing it at the NHL level. He's proven that he's not just a guy that can play at this level, but can play top 6 minutes at this level. And that is what the Pittsburgh Penguins are looking for right now, is a young player to help take them into the next generation that has that pedigree already. That's the type of move that you trade one of your first-round picks for. Certainly the Rangers one, certainly not the Pittsburgh Penguins one. But that's the type of move that you start to have that conversation of, yeah, it would be nice to pick 1st and 15th, but everybody knows that after 5, this draft gets a little bit murky. This draft gets a little bit more, uncertain as far as what you're trying to grab at 10th, 11th, 15th, 14th, which is where if the Penguins get that pick, they will be sitting. The problem is, you look at that and you say, would you rather have a lottery ticket or would you rather use that and probably more to bring in a guy that's 23 years old, that has already put up 50 points in this league, that is destined to do it again this year and has shown to be a multi-20 point or 20 goal scorer when he's only 23 years old? I think that is the question that you have to wrestle with. But Peterka immediately becomes a better option than Nick Robertson. He immediately becomes a better option than Nils Höglander. He immediately becomes a better option. I would say a better option than Brandt Clark. I like Brandt Clark, and he's a defenseman, so you have to judge it a little differently. But I think Peterka, the spot that he would fill for the Penguins, puts him immediately at the top of my list. And it might be recency bias because it's the most recent name I've heard. But you look at what he brings, and it is everything the Penguins need. And just like Elliot Friedman said, he has Pittsburgh written all over him because he is the perfect mold of what Kyle Dubas is looking for now and has been the entire season.
Absolutely. It's the perfect choice. It's the perfect selection. And for what it's worth, when it comes to what you're sending to Buffalo, if need be, it might cost a first. And if you follow Emily Kaplan's way of thinking, depending on the order of operations here, you send Rickard Rakell out for a first-round pick to, she said, Utah, anywhere, get a first-round pick in return, suddenly you have another first-round pick to play with. So
it's starting to feel like double blackberries on the NHL video game. But at the same time, hey, we've seen stuff that's crazier before, and first-round picks have been tossed out like candy over this deadline period. So maybe.
Exactly. And we've seen Kyle Dubas work with two phones before. I mean, this is all working out into his favor. So if the order of operations is correct, sure, then you have that other first-round pick to play with. Utah's might be a bit better, but again, like I mentioned, Los Angeles, the LA Kings could use a guy like Rickard Rakell in their lineup. That could be very much a late round pick, depending how they do against Edmonton for the 4th straight year. But it's something to keep an eye on if that is the direction they decide to go in, and depending on the order that they decide to go in, because also part of you might still want to hold on to a second first-round pick for next season, because 2026 draft, even late first round, is still supposed to be pretty solid. So, but then again, the Penguins have plenty of time to add other first-round picks to that. Brian Rust's trade protection is up after this season. Not saying they're trading him, but who knows how next season goes.
If you trade Erik Karlsson, you have to imagine that the first is very likely to be part of that deal.
Bare minimum, right?
Yeah. So, and here's the thing too. I know a lot of people are going to be like, we just got this first-round pick. We need to make the picks. We're a rebuilding team. Peterka's 23 years old. And let's not forget, last year, the Penguins had zero first-round picks. Zero. And they still got Harrison Brunick, who everybody's extremely excited about. They still got Tanner Howe right after him, who everybody is excited about. And guess what? Who did we just talk about 15 minutes ago? A 7th-round pick in Finn Harding that has gone from, he's a 7th-round pick, it's worth taking a chance on him, to they're signing his ELC because there's a very likely chance he's already going to be at the American Hockey League level next year. Like, there is a chance, because the Penguins went out, they scouted the right guy, they picked the right fit, and that player developed. So first-round picks aren't end-all, be-alls. I'm not going to go to the opposite side of it, because I've already bashed enough players that are first-round picks that didn't work for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But if you're telling me that trading away the New York Rangers' potential first-round pick that's either 14th, 15th, or 16th, and saying, well, instead of having somebody at 15 and somebody in the top 5, we're going to have, for instance sake, we're going to have Porter Martone and JJ Peterka, I think that is a huge win for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So again, you have to be willing, especially when you're Kyle Dubas, who is rebuilding, but also understanding that he wants Sidney Crosby back in the playoffs before he's done. And part of that is you're going to have to trade away some of these assets that you've gathered, which they have a lot of them, and you're going to have to take some swings. Peterka, to me, is a swing worth taking.